How you guys doing today? Miguel Torres, fresh coming out of UFC 139. I'm here with my boy Lecuyer. We got submission of the week for you today. We're going to start from the guard. We're going to work on a sweep. So I'm going to close guard. One of the main things when you're on top and somebody's guard, you never want your hands on the mat. Hands and elbows always off the mat. So I'm either going to make his hands come onto the mat. He's going to make the mistake of putting his hands on the mat. There's a couple ways I can do that. I can pop his arms off. I can come inside like I'm going to make a prayer, and I'm going to open his hands up. There's a couple of different ways to do that. But a lot of times, my opponent just tries to rest his head, or his arms are just down. This happens a lot of times in a match. Your guy's trying to stall, trying to hold you down. He's going to try to keep your hips pinned so you can't move your hips. I'm going to put my hand to one side, two hands on one side. I'm going to push his head to one side, and I'm going to come up. When I come up, this arm here, I like to thread inside, and I like to grab the wrist. Or I like to hook the forearm. If your arm's not long enough, just coming inside here on the side to hook this under his armpit is good enough. From my elbow, I'm going to get to my hand. The biggest mistake guys make is trying to make this sweep on their elbow. I'm going to come onto my hand here, and I'm going to post myself up like this. One thing I have to be careful of is to make sure my opponent doesn't have the reach to grab my hand and pin it behind my back. Sometimes guys can try to do that, where they reach and they pull my arm behind my back, and now my hand's pinned behind my back. So I don't come onto my hand, from my elbow to my hand, until I'm ready to sweep. When I'm ready to sweep, I'm going to use my opposite leg of my hand posted on the mat, and I'm going to put my hand up, and I'm going to lift my hips up, and I'm going to chop his leg to sweep on top. Once I'm on top of the mount, I have a couple of options. I just swept my opponent, so I have my arm inside already. I'm going to grab his wrist and pin it down, and make my Kimura lock here. I'm going to step off to the side. I still have his arm. Now, a lot of times I have to make sure I keep my weight on his chest, because he's going to try to push into me to get me on my back. So I have to have this leg up to stop him, and this arm pinned down with all my weight on his chest. Now I'm going to rotate my hips. I'm going to turn my hips down, turn my hip to the side, and I'm going to pin his face with my top leg. I pin his face down with my thigh, and I lift. If I apply this move correctly, I should have to lift very little. The way the lock is and the way the rotation of his shoulder is not going to allow him much movement, especially if I pin his head down. If I try to lift like this, he could sit up, and sometimes the guy can just roll me to my back. And now I have this on my back. It's not going to submit him. I'm here, I turn my hip, I pin his face, and I lift. The fact that his head is being pinned down is going to make me submit easier. Next one, I'm in the mount. I swept him, and he's going to start pushing my hips right away. He wants to get my hips down. I have my ankles crossed, so it's going to stop him a little bit. So immediately what I'm going to do is, from here I hug the head, I put my hand on the mat, and I'm going to walk my fingers up on the mat. And I'm going to feed his other arm to my other hand that's under his neck. I put my head down, I make my grip, I make my gable grip here. I'm going to unlock my legs, lift my knees, and slide my knee to the same side across his belly to where the lock is held. Hips down, I make my squeeze, I make my tap. From here, I have the same position. The guy's not tapping, the guy's really strong, his chin is down. I can take the back here. I'm going to come to my knees, I'm going to lift him up, and I'm going to switch. I lift, I switch, I get to both my feet, I sit back, I put my hooks in, and I always fall to my choke side. My hands are already here from where I had my seatbelt position. I bring my arm under his shoulder, I grab my bicep, making sure that I don't grab like this. I grab here, my palm facing my face, and make my choke. If I'm here, my partner's got his neck defending, he's pulling my arms down. This can go back into my submission of the week video when I did my twister. I take a hook off, I bring underneath his butt, and I lift to make my scorpion lock on his leg. I lock his leg up real tight. I pull this arm off, and I'm going to hook two arms on one. I lift, I make sure I make my face lock nice and tight, and make my twister. Okay guys, the submission of the week. Any of you guys that supported me for my fight, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to fighting soon again. Back in the gym training. I want to thank my training partner Tom to come down, him helping me out training, and all the guys in TriStar and the Black Zans. Thank you guys very much.